Morning to you, it's 10:05. It's Connie McLaughlin with you until noon this afternoon. Thank you so much for everyone who got in touch between 9 and 10 on the phone in. If you're just joining us and wondering what we were talking about, we were talking about Scotland's next First Minister and the Leaders' Debate last night. The first time we saw all three of them together on TV. Steph's been in touch to say I particularly appreciated listening to Kate Forbes. She knows her way around the economy, and that's a key issue for Scotland. Just because she's young and a new mum shouldn't stop members getting behind her leadership. She comes across as honest, fair, upbeat and competent. She is getting my vote. This one, anonymous texter, the three candidates are not up for the job. Independence is not happening anytime soon. The majority are not interested and want a First Minister to sort the mess out the SNP have made of this country. What do you think? Keep them coming in to me, 80295. We'd love to get your thoughts. Still to come this morning.
Janarelli Design 1. It weighs 900 kilograms. There are no driver aids. 0 to 60 happens in 3.9 seconds, and it sits on Michelin Pilot Sport 4s.
We're talking about Formula One. It returned this weekend. We've got racing icon Vicky Butler-Henderson. She joins me to talk about getting more girls into motorsports. That's going to be interesting, especially on today, which is International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day, by the way, to you. And it's Wednesday, which means the Court of Cairn is in session. We're going to be talking about this.
Am I being unreasonable for wanting my boyfriend to go on holiday with me and not his family?
80295. Do you think that is unreasonable? We're going to be discussing that with Sanjeev Kohli and Cara McKenzie a little bit later. Plus,
from an ant's nest in Gloucestershire to beneath the waves in Shetland, our magical wildlife revealed close to home.
It's ahead of the first episode this Sunday. We're going to be speaking to the producers behind Sir David Attenborough's latest wildlife series set in our very own backyard. And I've got all this to look forward to after leaving a 6-week-old baby at home. I'm going to be thinking about maybe, going on holiday in the next couple of months, and it means that you're going to have to take your baby's passport photo, which I didn't even think about. If you're in the same boat as me and maybe have never thought about that or have tried to do it a couple of times and have failed, we're going to be getting some top tips on how to take the perfect photo of your baby for a passport. All that to come before 12.
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
It's not a great sign if I can't get his age right after 6 weeks. That's my first fail of the day. Listen, lots to come. We're going to be speaking to Vicky Butler-Henderson, as I said. I'm really interested to hear what she's got to say. If you're a Formula One fan, stick around.
Kick it, the rhyme, it is wicked. Those that don't know how to be pros get evicted. A woman could bear you, break you, take you. Now it's time to rhyme. Can you relate to a sister dope enough to make you holler and scream?
Hey, yo, let me take it from here, queen. Excuse me, but I think I'm about due to get into precisely what I am about to do. I'm conversating to the folks who have no whatsoever clue. So listen very carefully as I break it down for you. Merrily, 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 hyper, happy, overjoyed. Please, with all the beats and rhymes my sisters have employed. Slick as smooth throwing down the sound, totally a yes. Let me state the position. Ladies first, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, there's gonna be some changes made here.
Believe me when I say being a woman is great to see. I know that all the fellas out there will agree with me. Not for being one, but for being with one. Cause when it's time for loving, it's the woman that gets them strong. Stepping, strutting, moving on, rhyming, cutting, and not forgetting. We are the ones to give birth to the new generation of prophets, cause it's ladies.
I break into a lyrical freestyle. Grab the mic, look at the crowd and see smiles. Cause they see a woman standing up on her own too. Sloppy slouching is something I won't do. Some think that we can't flow. Stereotypes, they got to go. I'ma mess around and flip the scene into reverse.
With what?
With a little touch of ladies first. You must be blind if you don't believe Well, here, listen to this rhyme. Ladies first, there's no time to rehearse. I'm divine and my mind expands throughout the universe. A female rapper with a message to send. The Queen Latifah is a perfect specimen.
My sister, can I get some?
Sure, Moni Love, grab the mic and get dumb.
Yo, praise me not for being simply what I am. Born in L-O-N-D-O and sound American. You dig exactly where I'm coming from. You want righteous rhyming, I'ma give you some. To enable you to age yourself and get paid. And the material that has no meaning, I wish to slay. Pay me every bit of your attention, like mother, like daughter. I would also like to mention, I wish for you to bring me to the rhythm of which is now systematically given. Desperately stressing, I'm the daughter of a sister who's the mother of a brother who's the brother of another. Plus one more. All four have a job to do. We doing it respect due to the mother who's the root of it. And next up is me, the M-O-N-I-E-L-O-V-E. And I'm first cause I'm a L-A-D-I-E.
Contact and in fact, the style it gets harder. Cooling on the scene with my European partner. Laying down track after track, waiting for the climax. When I get there, that's when I tax the next man or the next woman. It doesn't make a difference, keep the competition coming. And I recite chapter in verse. The title of this recital is Ladies First.
It is International Women's Day today. I was listening to Good Morning Scotland with Lucy and Martin today, talking about the women that inspired them, and we're going to be discussing what it's like not only to be a woman but also the trials and tribulations of childcare if you're a mum or a parent, in actual fact, in Scotland today, and just how tricky it can be. We're going to be chatting about that just after 11 o'clock this morning. But also, because it is International Women's Day, I'd love to know who was the person that inspired you. 80295. If you want to send me a text in, who's that woman that actually you're like, she is the sort of benchmark of all womanhood for you. It might be someone that you know, might be someone that is in your family, it might be someone that, I don't know, you've seen on TV, or just someone that has done something really special that you think that is that's just something that I'd really like to aspire to be or to be like. Someone who's certainly done that in the world of Formula One is my next guest. She returned or F1 of course returned at the weekends in Bahrain, and my next guest is certainly no stranger to life in the fast lane, from racing against the likes of David Coulthard, Dario Franchitti, and over 20 years of talking cars on our TV screens. Vicky Butler Henderson is perhaps used to talking things that are to do with cars, and also taking life a little bit quicker, and much more discussions needed about, I guess, the opportunities for women in the sport of motor racing. I'm delighted to say she's taken some time out of her busy schedule to chat to me this morning. Morning, Vicky.
Oh, hello, Connie. Lovely to talk to you, and congratulations on having a 6-week-old baby.
Oh, you mean my 6-month-old?
6-month-old, sorry, yes. Yeah.
No, that was I was getting mixed up. He's 6 weeks old today, actually, and I was talking earlier, and I'm like, yeah, I've got a 6-month-old. No, I don't. He's 6 weeks. So it just shows you where your head's at this point. Certainly. We're talking about International Women's Day. Who, before we get into all the stuff we're going to talk about, is there someone that sticks out in your mind that you think, that's the person for me that really inspires me?
There really is, and she's Scottish. She's Louise Aitken Walker. She was a hugely successful rally driver, and I remember watching her on TV as she did the RAC rally, and I just looked at her on TV and I just thought, yes, there is a woman who's doing something that I love, which is driving. I was racing karts at the time, and she was achieving loads and mixing it right at the top of her game. So for me, it's been Louise Aitken Walker.
I know it's such a rubbish question to ask, and it's such an obvious question, right? I'm just going for it anyway.
Go for it, yeah.
About this idea of how important it is to have these role models within sport, and particularly I think sports that you wouldn't necessarily assume women, or certainly historically you wouldn't necessarily assume that women would be interested in, and for you, has that been an important part of your journey with motorsport?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you can see somebody doing something, then it gives you the impetus to go, well, that it can be done. So it's like if you look along the pit lane in Formula One, and if you see a woman in a team or running a team, then it's like, oh, it can be done. It just gives you that visualization that young girls can hook onto and go, there we go, there's my route. I can do that. And it didn't occur to me until a few years ago that I was actually a role model to my children, because I was racing in a Mini, just a lovely club race, and my children came along to watch, and they were maybe sort of 5 and 8 at the time, and they were fully enthusiastic, cheering for me in the crowd, and they just came up to me afterwards and said, "Mummy, you were amazing. You know, I think you're fantastic." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what I do actually affects them, and I can use what I love for good." For the power of grabbing people along the way and saying, come on, you can do this, whatever you want, whatever is your passion, you can do it. And I think it's really wonderful to have women up there in any role, whether it's on the radio, on telly, at school, anything. It's great to see women in great roles.
Whenever you were starting out in this business and racing from a really young age, were you aware of that? You know, because I think back to my time, and so I started in football, and it was, some people have said that to me in the past about, you know, being aware of being, you know, a minority in, you know, a male-dominated sport. But I was never really, it was not something that was really conscious.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm exactly the same. I was one of, I don't know, I still am one of 2%, I think it is, of the whole of people who race in the UK who are girls. But it doesn't matter, because to me, I had loads of friends up and down the pit lane. We all raced together. We put our helmet on. It did not matter if I was a girl or a boy or a giraffe or a tree or anything. We were just there for the love of it. So exactly the same with you. If you love your football, it doesn't matter if you're a girl, and I didn't think it was important in any way. It didn't even it didn't make me think anything different. And I love it for that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes whenever you've got the benefit of having something that you're so passionate about, the pathway then becomes really clear for you. But I guess that's not necessarily the case for everyone. So talk us through your journey in the sport and how that all started, and I guess to where you are right now.
Well, I was very blessed because my father was in the British racing team for karting when he was a teenager. So he had an old kart chassis knocking about. He became a farmer. It was in one of the barns, and we just took it out of the barn, stuck a lawnmower engine on it. I went up and down the farm lane in it, loved it. And then because my father had been into that sport, he then opened that door for me and we started racing. So if anybody is listening and they love Formula One, or they're going to Knock Hill or anything, you know, to a car event soon, just take a youngster, you know, with them, if there is somebody who's got an interest in it, and just open that motorsport door for them, because you can end up designing a racing car, being an engineer, being a driver yourself, being a marshal. There are so many ways that you can get involved in motor racing. It welcomes everybody.
I mentioned in the intro that you've been racing against the likes of David Coulthard. What was that like, and how did that go?
Oh, well, it was the first kart race I ever did. I was 12 years old, and David had been racing for a little bit longer than me, and he lapped me in my first race. That was great.
No, on you go.
No, please say.
I was just going to say, I'll let you into a little secret. I have also raced David Coulthard in a go-kart, and I beat him.
Good girl.
But only just because I think it was for the magic of telly, and I think he was allowing me to do that, and I got about a 10-second head start. But
don't see yourself down. Good girl.
It was so much fun, and I guess that's the part of it, isn't it, Vicky? Is about enjoying it, having fun.
That is exactly it. And that's, you know, I love my cars today. I love maintaining my car today. Every aspect of it is fun. And I try and get the kids involved as well.
Why do you think our relationships with cars in particular have changed over the last wee while, and since you've been involved in the sport. And I'm thinking not necessarily just the cars that you race, but I mean just day to day.
Well, I think we're now at a stage where many households have got not one but two cars, and also we're at that age now of the electric car. So things in the car industry are moving really rapidly. It's a very exciting time to be involved, you know, at such a stage where things are becoming so futuristic, and the future is arriving every day. We have new sort of technologies coming probably every 6 months that are making batteries longer, making our journeys more sort of geared towards the electrification of everything.
It's going to be amazing actually just to see how that sport changes, not even just the sort of day-to-day living and how we, you know, get around in our vehicles and what that's going to look like, but I think even just the sort of the change that the F1 in particular is going to have to see just to make sure that it's still viable, I guess, as a sport over the next few years is going to be really interesting. And just looking at what Susie Wolff's doing as well, Vicky, this all new all women series for F1 is I guess really important, and we touched on that earlier how it's a big step forward being able to see females in that sport. But she's done a massively important job to try and change the perception of women in this sport, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has. She's been another very visible woman that young girls can look to and say, yeah, this is a path that has been trodden and I can walk down it myself. And it's great that, you know, the whole motorsport industry is acknowledging the fact that we need more support for girls, because if you think of motorsport as a triangle, and right at the bottom you've got 8-year-old karters, and right at the top you've got 20 Formula One drivers. If 50% of girls were at the bottom racing karts, then the chances of us getting right to the top would be greater. But there aren't 50% at the bottom. So therefore, anything that gives us a little bit of help and keeps us in the sport for longer helps our chances of succeeding.
How would you say, if people are listening to this and thinking, I'd love to get involved in that, but I think a lot of people will associate motorsports with people who've got a lot of money, let's be honest. And it can be expensive to race. It can be expensive to even try and get involved in a sort of grassroots level to any sort of racing. What would you say to them, and what would be the best route for them?
Well, there are plenty of kart circuits that do, you know, that will offer for not a huge amount of money the chance to go racing for, you know, half an hour or an hour. That could be your first step. Maybe a birthday present you could ask for, or a birthday party at a karting event would be a great way in. But because it's such a wide industry, you could, you know, get close to the action by becoming a marshal at a local racing circuit. So that way you really are at the centre of things without quite being in the car. So you don't have to be the racing driver. You can be the mechanic or the engineer or the truck driver or, you know, the lunch provider. If that passion draws you in, there are opportunities all throughout motorsport for you to be involved. And if it's your passion, go for it.
And you've shown just that. Lovely. Great to chat to you this morning, Vicky. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
That was Vicky Butler Henderson there, talking about her passion for motorsports and just how important it is to have more women visible within the sport, but also just saying there that if it's your passion and you fancy it, there's loads of ways that you can get involved as well. It is 10:23.
New People Puzzler at its new time, and a brand new show with a brand new host. Switch.
Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
All new weeknights starting at 6, only on Game Show Network.
Just coming up to 25 minutes after 10, you're listening to BBC Radio Scotland. It's Connie with you until 12 o'clock today. Still to come in the programme.
If they can sit up on their own, just place them in front of a white wall or poster board. But if they can't, I'm going to lay her down on a white sheet.
That is the trials and tribulation of trying to take a passport photo for a baby, right? So if you're in that situation and you need to get a passport sorted quickly, or just maybe even heading towards the summer, then stick around because we've got all the information that you need from the professionals, right? So that's coming up before 11 o'clock. And then we've got the Court of Karen as well. She will be here with Sanjeev Kohli, just casting an eye over this week's conundrum, right? That'll be a little bit later. We've got more music for you now, though. This...
Listen good and give the best advice that I can give. So, what's up with you this time? Your honey took a dive and now he's playing with your mind. Oh no, this cannot be accepted. The feelings that belong to you must be protected. Hold up, time out, I shout. Get it together, sister. Tell her to be not so just a mister. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. Get back on your feet, please. I'm begging you to check out on your own knees. Don't let nobody see you in a state of grieving over the brother. There's another possibility, which is for you to work out where you went wrong. I guarantee to you that it will not take long for you to make your mind up if the two of you belong. You know where honey's head at and where he's coming from. Get it out your system, don't be another victim. This took the nerve, oh boy, he really picked him. What do you know? It's time for you to show you're not sleeping. A progress report on the two of you you're keeping. Peeking through the peephole to see if honey's sneaking. You estimated right that night the other weekend. Collectively the facts should conclude the decision. You called the brother in a terrible disposition. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. That's it, pack it up, be wise, my sister, cause the facts keep stacking up. Tell him to kiss the you know what, make sure the door is shut behind you. I do believe the brother's out of luck and stuff, but that's not your PROBLEM. You gotta let him go and let him know this is the end. You've been kissed, dissed, listed as a dumb one. I hope he likes sad songs, he's gonna hum one. He's been a dumb and that's the way it is forever. There comes a time when you're at the end of your tether, and you know, I think you went far beyond that. So it was bound to backtrack and smack you with an irksome vengeance as it attacks you. Making sure you get the full entire view of who's to blame at the end of the game. Things will never be the same, and it's a crying shame. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame the way you hurt me. It's a shame the way you mess around with.
Got something to say? Text 80295. Standard message rates apply.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
I nearly did myself an injury there dancing around to that. I wish I was joking. To that Little Mix track. How good is that? That was Wings by Little Mix. We are on International Women's Day today. I was asking you earlier on to let me know who the person was that inspires you the most. 80295. You know the text number by now. This one in from JJ in Glasgow says, the late Maria Fife MP, working class woman, 2 kids and a widow, holding it together and sitting in Parliament, sadly missed. That's from JJ. This text in, anonymous texter actually. My wife is my role model, mother of 6 kids, 5 of them under 14. Wow. Well done to her for getting through the day, never mind, you know, thriving in life. Certainly I can feel her pain right now. It wasn't enough. Went to college 5 years ago to train as an early years practitioner, and this year will be graduating from uni with an honours degree. Well done. She also has her house spotless and so well organised that everything works so well. She is the best and wonderful role model for me and my children. Well done to you. My mum, Anna Williams, who encouraged her 4 daughters to follow careers in engineering, arts, management 30 years ago, never doubted us for 1 minute as well. That text, you've not put your name on that, but you've given your mum's name. Your mum's name's Anna Williams. So if you have got a son or daughter, Anna Williams, then you'll know that that's who it is that texts in. And keep them coming in to me, 80295. Who is the person that on International Women's Day has inspired you or just makes you think, whenever you think of a woman, you think of that person? And speaking of inspirational women, all rise. I think we've got a wee bit of a delay today. I keep on just sort of, we have a wee sort of minute before we hear these little clips coming in. But I was inspired by you because I've not seen you or heard from you for about two months. Karen, how are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. Inspired by me. Wow. Do tell.
Just your general demeanour. I love it.
Stop it. You're sitting with your fingers crossed. Is that when you're allowed to tell lies?
Ah, you know me, I don't tell lies. How are you doing anyway? How have you been?
I'm fine. I was thinking about women that, and hoping that you wouldn't ask me, and I was thinking, well, actually, do you know the woman that I think maybe I'd love to be or love to have her knowledge? And she's actually on the TV. She was in a series called Couples Therapy. She was a psychotherapist and she's American. I think it might be on Channel 4, I don't know. Oh, I had a bit of a girl crush on her. She was just, or is just amazing. And I'd love her to come and sort my life out. But there we are.
Do we need to talk more about this?
Actually, it's not even the couples therapy, it's just me. Sort out me.
I think I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah. I think I know who you mean. That's not what I was anticipating you were going to say.
All right, well, there we are.
But yeah, but good. My inspiring woman definitely is my mum.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, 100%. Last Mother's Day, actually, we had her on the programme. I'll do the Sunday morning programmes throughout the year. And my last son's happened to fall into Mother's Day. And I had her, I was like, Mum, do you fancy coming on the radio and just having a wee chat? And she's like, listen, okay.
Oh,
absolutely did not have to ask her twice.
I love it. And listen, you'll be getting a wee Mother's Day card this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big congratulations.
Did you hear me earlier on forgetting what age you was already?
Oh, no, I didn't. We're only at weeks, are we not? Maybe months.
6 weeks today, and I was calling him 6 months.
Actually, you're inspiring, actually being back to work.
You know me.
I'm starting to know you.
I'm too nosy to see what's going on to not be back. But listen, right, we've got a special guest with us today, actor and comedian Sanjeev Kohli. Sanjeev, I'm sorry you had to hear us mumbling on there, just chatting before we actually introduced you.
I love an impromptu podcast.
Sometimes we forget we're actually on the radio. Anyway, how have you been?
Well, actually, not too well. I've got a wee head cold, so I was actually meant to be joining you today, but I'm actually in my bed.
Are you? It sounds like you're just sitting there with a peg on your nose and just didn't want to come in.
Honestly, I couldn't. You know that way where, like, I'm not that good an actor, Karen. I'm not genuinely. This is all virus, all killer, no filler. I can promise you.
Ooh. Right, I'm glad you stayed where you were. Right,
so am I.
This is your first time, Sanjeev, doing this. So will we give you sort of a bit of an overview of what we do?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Karen, you tell Sanjeev more.
No, you fire away.
Right. Okay.
I'm
so
sitting here.
We do a little conundrum each week. We'll have a little chat about it. Karen will tell us where she stands, and then we'll come to you. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm up for that.
Right. Let's hear it.
My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. We're both in our mid-30s, but he still goes on family holidays with his parents every year. And they've just booked another one for this summer. The problem is, we've still not been away together because he can't afford to do more than one a year. He's asked if I can wait until next year for us to book one, but I've already waited for 2, and it's not as if I'm ever invited on his family ones. It's nice how close they are, but my needs just aren't being met. Am I being unreasonable to not want my boyfriend to go on holiday?
Karen, has she been unreasonable?
Not at all. Absolutely not at all. For heaven's sakes. I mean, he's been on, while they've been seeing each other, he's been on 2 holidays with his parents already, and hang on, in their mid-30s. That's got to stop.
Is that a red flag, Sanjeev?
I think it used to be a red flag, but look on, let's think of the economic climate right now, right? 20 years ago, it would have been a red flag, and I would be getting my lawyer for an exclusion order, right? But see now, I mean, My eldest is 21. I've got a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. I fully expect them to be living with me for the rest of their natural lives. They've got their posters up. I'm certainly not turning any of the rooms into a sauna because that's the current climate. I think we're being a little bit harsh.
No, stop it, Sanjeev. We're talking holidays, not living with them. I mean, has she been invited on the holiday?
Yeah, but look, cut him some slack, okay? Maybe, right? He's rent-free, I'm assuming, right? Living with his parents. Maybe he's playing the long game. Maybe he's funneling all the money that would have been rent into the dream holiday. Maybe next year he's going to take her to Guadalajara or Center Parcs Penrith. I think she should. I think it's more expensive than you think. Other obviously theme parks are available, reasonably priced. But I think that maybe he's playing the long game. And also, right, you should judge a man by his relationship with his mother, right?
Oh dear.
One of you has forgotten how old his son is already. Am I right?
I know, and I'm glad you say this. You judge the relationship by his mother. Good.
I can't imagine that his mum has forgotten his age. That's all I'm saying. I ain't judging anybody.
Don't make me feel bad, Sanjeev, already.
No, I would say, you mentioned age, and I would say, yeah, if he was earlier, maybe in his early 20s or whatever, I think that's fairly acceptable, right? But mid-30s, I'm assuming he's working. And as you said, probably or maybe just rent-free or a token rent, then for goodness sakes, get your flaming hand in your pocket and let's get on holiday. He only has to pay for himself and his flight.
But Karen, maybe part of the deal of him staying at home is he has to go on the family holidays. Now, you know as well.
Lord, that is big red flag saying. So there's all conditional. This holiday is.
But you know as well as I do that it doesn't matter how old you are. You always slot into where you are in the kind of family hierarchy, right? I'm the youngest of three. When our family get together, it doesn't matter how old or successful I am, I'll always be the young'un. And I know you're the same with your sisters.
Spoiled brat,
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you kind of have to accept a little. He probably hates those holidays with his parents. He's probably doing her a favour. He's probably doing her a favour.
Oh, do you really want to?
They're dragging him about Bournemouth antiquing, right? He's protecting her.
And in my head, though, this is a really like a big holiday somewhere, like abroad somewhere. And by the way, just on
you're making those assumptions.
I know, I am.
It's a rubbish holiday.
This is just where my head's going.
He's protecting her.
We're you know that thing you were saying about what position on the pecking order he's in terms of his family. We're going to be talking about eldest daughter syndrome a little bit later, which would be interesting. But surely, Sanjeev, there is a very simple way around this, right? There's a very, very simple way to solve this problem, which would be invite the girlfriend on holiday. Why would they not want to do that? And then this is not a debate anymore.
Because, and this is my theory, is that he's maybe she.
There's a lot of maybes in your.
Of course, it's all hypothetical, but she needs to analyse her own behaviour. Maybe she's being antisocial, and he doesn't know how to break it to her that she's doing something. Like maybe she has IBS and the flatulence makes her sound like the 1812 overture. Maybe she makes a noise when she eats. Maybe she has body odour.
Maybe you're just talking a lot of rubbish.
Maybe has she analysed her own behaviour, Karen? Is all I'm asking.
No, I think even if she was invited, which would be a nice gesture to go on holiday with them, but at that I would think, why would you want to go on holiday? You've been out with 2 years with your sort of, I'm saying in-laws, and they're not really in-laws, but you know what I mean. Cut ties for that 1 week. It doesn't have to be a fortnight, a week in the year, for the pair of them to go away on holiday. And I think it's not good. It's not a good sign when he's still carrying on going on holiday with the family. For God's sake, can you not even stand up to them?
Here's the thing, Karen. We're all making presumptions about this guy's lifestyle.
No, I think I'm probably pretty near the truth.
Here's my presumption.
Right, last one.
He's on a 0-hours contract. He's probably working for, driving a bike for a living. He's making very little money. He's staying at home to save on rent. He wants to give his girlfriend the holiday of her dreams, so he's saving the money. In 3 years' time, I guarantee you, she will be sunning herself in Lanzarote.
Okay, and just to end this, right, and you can let us know if you're listening to this thinking, what is Sanjeev on about? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. 80295, or if you're thinking Karen's talking nonsense, 80295. I guess the question mark would be then why they're not having that conversation. This is easily solved with a bit of communication, a wee bit of talking, and then they would know where they stand, surely, or they stood with each other. Right, let me know what your thoughts are. Sanjeev, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed your first one.
Cheers.
And we blow your nose now.
Speak to you soon. Karen, you're going to be back a little bit later to find out sort of where the general public are on this.
I will be, yes.
And we'll put this conundrum to bed once and for all. Right, okay. It is 10:40 here on BBC Radio Scotland. We're going to be speaking about Sir David Attenborough's new programme. It is set here in Scotland. That's after this from Diana Ross. It's Chain Reaction. Listen, we've been asking for your nominations. Is it nominations or just you, the people that inspire you? It's International Women's Day today, and I was asking who was the person that inspired you. Right, keep them coming in to me. 80295 is the way to do that. We've been hearing from lots of people saying their wives, their mums. We've actually, what Gigi had said, that the late Maria Fife MP was there. Inspirational woman. So who would yours be? It could be someone that maybe, I don't know, that you know, someone from your family, or it could be someone that you have, I don't know, read in a book, anything. Let me know. 80295 is the way you can do that. It's always good to get your thoughts, especially on International Women's Day. Right, it's been 4 years since we've seen Sir David Attenborough presenting one of his epic series in front of the camera. But this Sunday, the 96 natural history stalwart, now 6-year-old, is back in the landmark series Wild Isles.
Welcome to a place that is astonishing. Nature in these islands, if you know where to look, can be extraordinary. dramatic and beautiful. It rivals anything I've seen elsewhere. It's not far. It's home.
That voice is just so unmistakable, isn't it? And they're going to be exploring the wild habitats that exist right on our doorstep. Wild Isles shows our home as we've never seen it before. And here to talk a wee bit more about it is Hilary Jeffkins, series producer, and Nick Gates, who produced and directed Wild Isles. Morning to both of you. Oh, I think we might have a... Hilary, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, and Nick, are you with me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, thank you.
Excellent. We've been having a wee bit we've had some gremlins this morning, and I thought the gremlin was maybe taking over, but I'm glad that I can hear both of you. Congratulations, listen, first of all, on the new series. It sounds epic from what I've heard, Hilary. How it's taken 3 years to make it. How have those 3 years been?
They've been exciting and they've been a bit trickier than we might have expected. And we started when COVID first hit Britain, and that meant that we didn't have much access to sites, but it had a silver lining in that a lot of really brilliant cameramen who would have been travelling abroad were with us. So we had great talent. And we wrestled with the weather. When you're filming abroad, you're guaranteed probably sort of 80% of the time the weather is good and you film what you can. But here in Britain, as we know, it's very mixed, which meant we could go back, though, and film extra stuff.
From a point of view of how long a normal series would take to make, what would that look like? And is 3 years about right, or is that a bit longer than normal?
Actually, we spent longer in the field than the international blue chip series do. So we spent over 1,600 days in the field. So, yes, a lot of time. The British wildlife is pretty timid, so we spent a lot of days in the field.
And Nick, what can viewers expect then if you're spending that amount of time out there? I'm assuming you got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, we really did. I think if you're a viewer who likes these big natural history series, you might have seen Planet Earth or Blue Planet 2, Frozen Planet 2, which just came out. These big international series that have got these extraordinary behaviours and creatures in them. Well, this is the first time that we've had the time and the budget to give that same treatment that you get on those huge international series to the wildlife here of Britain and Ireland, our home wildlife. So we think we filmed some extraordinary creatures that will really surprise the audience.
Do you know, I've never even thought about this before because I'm a huge fan of these programmes and really enjoy seeing places, animals that we would never get to see before. I guess that's the draw of programmes like this. But I never really thought or contemplated the idea of what you might be missing in this country. So what, Hilary was saying there about some of the creatures maybe a little bit more timid than we might expect. What type of creatures are we talking about?
Well, in this opening episode that comes out on Sunday, we've got enormous creatures like orca hunting seals. So you wouldn't believe the shots that we've managed to capture up off Shetland of these creatures hunting. But we've also gone right down into the minute detail and covered those macro stories. We've got this wonderfully intricate story of a species of fly that's got this wonderful pollination relationship with a species of arum lily. We covered every single type of habitat: ocean, woodland, grassland, freshwater, right up into the mountains. And we've tried to cherry pick the very best stories, the most interesting behaviours, the most surprising creatures, to really showcase what we have left here in Britain and Ireland. We know it's threatened, we know it's rare, but there are still some remarkable creatures that call these islands home. And you were in Scotland, Nick, for the first one. Whereabouts did you find yourself? Whereabouts in Scotland were you? Well, that orca sequence that I just mentioned, that was filmed up off the coast of Shetland. Yeah. We filmed a wonderful sequence of white-tailed eagles hunting barnacle geese that was filmed in the Hebrides. I travelled up into the Cairngorms for a number of shoots for the later episodes. We travelled out to the Outer Hebrides. We filmed in 200 shoots, 145 different locations across this series. And we really got to see the very best of what the British Isles has to offer, and a large chunk of that was in Scotland.
Yeah, Hilary, just on that point of the amount of different places that you travel to and that the crew went to, we heard that Sir David Attenborough agreed to narrate it straight away, but the decision to have him present it as well and be on location, what was the thinking behind that?
Well, originally he agreed to narrate, which we were very pleased about. But our message and in this series, it's how globally important we are for wildlife. We have 50% of the world's common bluebells. We have over 80% of chalk streams. But there's been a lot of change over time. And we thought it would be very powerful to have David articulating that change because he's seen it over generations. So he agreed to come on location. He is at the start of each programme, at the end of the first and last programmes. And he very emotionally tells us that, for example, in the grassland programme, since he was a child, he's seen insect population numbers completely crash. So those kind of messages are much more powerful from someone who's seen it happening.
And what is the hope then, Hilary, that the audience, people at home watching this on their TV screens and enjoying the stories and the scenery, but what do you hope that they take away from this?
Well, we hope that they're excited, that they're surprised and they're inspired by British wildlife, but we also hope that they have a sense of value for it because it is very precious. Now, we've been working with WWF, RSPB and Open University who have outreach programs, so there will be something people can do to save our wild isles. So only by caring and knowing what the situation is, it'll make people want to do something about it.
And the first episode begins this Sunday, 12th of March, 7 o'clock on BBC One and on iPlayer. Best of luck with it, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Hilary Jeffkins, series producer, and Nick Gates, producer and director of Wild Isles. It's going to be something pretty special by the sounds of it. It's 10:52.
The Sex Nation.
New ghosts with a new ghost.
I'm a car ghost.
He just goes wherever the car goes?
What are you doing?
Adding this to my ghost notes. This is huge.
A New Ghosts, Thursday, January 5th on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Yeah, it's a huge weekend of sport this weekend. We've got the rugby to think about. We've got the Scottish Cup quarterfinals as well. Lots to think about this weekend, as well as Wild Isles. Will you be watching that? You can let me know. And also keep your texts coming in about the inspiring women, 80295, and your text for Karen. The conundrum today is whether or not someone who has been getting out with someone for 2 years, if it's a bit weird that they'd rather go on holiday with their family or their parents rather than going on holiday and spending the money with them. 80295. Are you on the side of Karen, who thinks it's weird, or are you on the side of Sanjeev Kohli, who was on saying, well, in actual fact, maybe, I don't know, the person's not got the money to go with the girlfriend. So let me know what you think. It's still to come this morning.
Am I being unreasonable for wanting my boyfriend to go on holiday with me and not his family?
And on International Women's Day, we're taking a deep dive into the state of childcare in Scotland. You can send us your experiences. What's it been like for you? Send me a text about that as well, 80295. Or you can give me a call if it's something actually that you're thinking, I really want to get this off my chest. It's really difficult. Here's a simple way to solve the childcare issues, or this has been your experience of childcare in Scotland. Let me know. 08085 92 95 00.
Get in touch with BBC Radio Scotland.
You can call our free phone number on 08085 92 95 00. Text 80295. Standard message rates apply.
This is BBC Radio Scotland.
Right, have you seen this recently about Stacey Solomon? She's been sharing her hilarious attempts to try and take a suitable snap of her newborn baby for their first passport picture. And they just were not playing ball at all. So we have been thinking this morning, right, okay, what's the best way to do that? So we thought that we would get the advice from the professionals. With me to talk more about this is Claire Scott, Wonder Years portrait photographer. Morning to you.
Morning, how you
Morning,
doing?
Claire. I'm good, thanks. We've also got Magdalene DL, showbiz editor of the Daily Record and a mother to a newborn. How you doing, Magdalene?
Good morning, I'm good. How are you?
Yes, maybe as tired as you.
Yeah, well, I was going to say welcome back. It's nice to hear you back. I'm so impressed that you're back so soon.
Well, ask me that and how I'm feeling after 12:30, and then we'll talk. And do you know what? I've never even thought about this or contemplated this as a thing, right? That you would even struggle or even thinking about taking a picture of a newborn. Have you tried it yet?
Me, myself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we actually tried it the other day, and we gave up after about one attempt and went and got it done ourselves. We went the old-fashioned route, got it done in the shop, and I am so glad that we did it because, yeah, it's not easy, as Stacey has proved.
I know, it can't be easy. Claire, do you have a lot of people coming to you saying, right, we've tried it and we've just given up, help us out?
Yeah, definitely. From newborn right up through until they're 3 or 4 years old. It's a really tricky thing to do if you're not used to working with little ones and lighting and things like that, definitely.
Right, so what are the tips then?
I would say, so if you're doing it from home, anything from a wee one that's just getting head control after, 2-3 weeks old onwards, the first thing you need to think about is maybe the lighting in your house. So one of the hardest things to do is use a camera or a phone with flash because it's going to create the shadows that they don't want. So you really want to set up in a part of your house in natural light during the day using a big window perhaps, because if there's no flash, there's no shadows. So that's one of the first things I'd say. You want to maybe look at how you can recreate the backdrops they would have in a photo booth or in a studio. So just hanging a large white sheet in the background gets that problem dealt with really easily. And then what I tend to do in the studio with little ones, even when they're newborn, you can crouch down behind them. It's a two-person job, definitely. You want dad or a friend or somebody there with you. I would suggest having a hand supporting their back and their tummy almost underneath a wee top or something, so it's just below camera, and having them supported on something quite flat, a small stool or on a table, so that you've got a nice solid base with dad or a friend crouching down beside out of camera shot. And the next thing, I think probably the most important thing, is to have no distractions with a newborn or right up through to sort of toddler age in the room, and get their full attention towards you. So you can have their favourite song or their favourite toy, a squeaky toy, cartoons playing right by the shoulder of the person taking the picture. So no matter how young they are, you're going to attract their attention towards you when you're doing it. So you're kind of looking at lighting and position and the environment, really, hopefully. That's kind of what works for me.
So, because you're thinking you need a white background, nothing else, and just really their sort of head and shoulders.
Head and shoulders, yeah. So there's plenty of room, even with a newborn. You can have dad or a friend or nana's hand supporting right up the back of their wee vest top or something that they're wearing that's supporting their head, and it won't be in shot. And then because you can do it digitally now and upload it yourself, you can crop into the shoulders and the head. The white background behind a white sheet's perfect, even when they're tiny, even a white pillow, so you're not getting any distractions in the background, and you can support them really well. You can even angle them back a tiny bit and just shoot slightly from above. And if you've got somebody being silly behind you, or bright cartoons playing on another phone beside the camera lens that's taking the picture, then they will gaze.
Yeah. I think it might be slightly easier, Magdalene, for me right now, because, a newborn is a wee bit easier to control. Well, I say that, rather than a toddler. So your wee ones too. Where are you off to that you're needing a passport, may I ask?
We're off to Malaysia this summer because his dad's family live in Malaysia. They're from Kuala Lumpur, so we've not been over because obviously when my wee boy was born, we were in the middle of a pandemic, so we haven't been able to meet any of his family over there. So it's like we're super excited, but the countdown's on now. It's 3 months and our flights are booked, and I've done my usual where I've left everything to the last minute, and I keep reading articles about these huge passport delays. So we panicked last week and decided to get things moving, but yeah, we found it so difficult just because he moves about all the time now. He's so energetic, so we just took him down to the shop, and the tips that we just heard there were actually, I saw them in action because the photographer had her phone on her shoulder and had Cocomelon on.
I can't even imagine how tricky that would be. Enjoy it if I don't speak to you before your holiday.
On digital radio,
FM,
your smart speaker,
and on BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Scotland.
Seamless than me this morning, that's for sure. Oliver Wright, well done on the news. We'll be back a little bit later on. You are listening to BBC Radio Scotland with Connie McLaughlin. How you doing? It's still to come this morning.
Am I being unreasonable for wanting my boyfriend to go on holiday with me and not his family?
Are you indeed? Still to come, we'll get your verdicts from the Court of Karen this week. What do you think? 80295 is the way to get in touch if you fancy having your say on this morning's conundrum. And
announcing that in my first budget as First Minister that I would accelerate the expansion of childcare for all 1 and 2-year-olds.
this is going to be really, really interesting. The last half hour of the programme, we are going to be taking a deep dive into childcare in this country and whether it's working for you, whether it's not working for you. You can send us your experiences of childcare as it stands in Scotland. Again, the text number, you know this by now, it's probably imprinted in your brain, but I'll tell you in case you don't. 80295. Or if you want to give me a call and you want to have your say and you want to be involved in the conversation, you can do that as well. 08085 92 95 00. We'll be talking about that. Plus, have you ever heard of eldest daughter syndrome?
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Yeah, it's going to be something we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the programme as well. Stick around if you can. It is International Women's Day, and this sort of, I think, signifies...
We would like for you to help us welcome a very distinguished speaker. He hails from the DPG. Would you please stand and welcome the one, the only OG Nate Dogg.
Now I was about 8 when I caught my first case. My mother, she turned her back and bowed her head in disgrace. Now I didn't do a thing, I was just standing by. the penitentiary. One more day. See, while I was serving cabbie, I forgot to think. Say, for instance, they catch me, little they don't ever see. Now remember, I'm selling big dough, but I'm back in my thing. At every corner, police watching, I ain't crazy, so I'm leaving the game. I'm leaving the game. But I guess I waited too late, 'cause they just called me. Now I'm locked up every morning, I am praying for my son's safety. One more day. I'd like to thank you for watching over my D-O-double-G. And would you keep an extra eye on Nate Dogg especially? I guess I'll just continue lifting from day to day. And if I live to see tomorrow, thank you for one more day. One more day. More. 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 One more day.
Hold on, Wilson Phillips. It's 10 past 11 here on BBC Radio Scotland. It is that time. All rise. Yeah, the Court of Karen is back in session to hear your verdict on this week's conundrum. Earlier on, if you missed it, our judgmental friend Karen McKenzie faced off with Sanjeev Kohli to determine if it is unreasonable to want your boyfriend to go on holiday with you, right? But in this conundrum, it's a little bit trickier than that because he wanted to go with his family and not them, right? But it is up to you, the jury, to make your ultimate decision. Let's remind you of the conundrum in full.
My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. We're both in our mid-30s, but he still goes on family holidays with his parents every year. And they've just booked another one for this summer. The problem is, we've still not been away together because he can't afford to do more than one a year. He's asked if I can wait until next year for us to book one, but I've already waited for 2, and it's not as if I'm ever invited on his family ones. It's nice how close they are, but my needs just aren't being met. Am I being unreasonable to not want my boyfriend to go on holiday?
Right, Karen, what say the jury?
Well, I have to say, do you know, this is when you wish that Sanjeev was sitting next to you.
Just so you can gloat?
Yeah. Smug,
fair,
you know,
fair.
that way. Now, I don't know how many checks have come in for Sanjeev, but I'm only privy to the ones that come in for me. And Jane from Falkirk says, Karen's 100% correct. Don't know if you heard that. 100% correct. Red flag. 3 exclamation marks. Grow a pair. Presumably that's muscles. Grow a pair of muscles. And then to you, congrats on the baby. So that's from Jane in Falkirk.
Thanks, Jane.
Rona in Fortrose is saying, for goodness sake, really? Alarm bells for the future. And this one I thought, what's this about? And it was Fiona. It's from Fiona. She says, here's a tip. Don't travel with a small baby. And I thought, but, oh yeah.
This is good tips. Keep them coming in. Keep them coming in, people.
Yes. So, I don't know. Are there any on the other side?
Right. I'm having a look here. Karen's conundrum. Maybe your boyfriend would rather go on holiday with his wife and kids. Just putting that out there from Anonymous. Jillian 5 says, 100% agree with Sanjeev. What if he's saving for a mega holiday next year and his family might be a nightmare? She's weird for wanting to join in on something that's clearly important to them. Go on holiday with your pals and stop waiting around like a sad sack.
I don't think she is particularly wanting to go on holiday with them. I think she'd rather go on holiday with him. Oh, yeah. I mean, she did say, oh God, they've not even invited me, but I think given the choice, she'd rather he kind of made the choice to go with her rather than the family. But there we are. Don't know.
This one's from Paul and Bigger, who says, a holiday with my mum and dad and sister every summer. I'm in my 30s. I think it's a shame that a lot of people stop going on holiday with their family even when they're a bit older, because you can finally do all the same sort of things. We've had some of the best trips of our lives as adults, but perhaps you should be bringing his partner to the next one. I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, if you've got a partner, I think you need to think, well, but the thing is, it needs to be discussed, as was mentioned, that you can't just say, right, I'm going on holiday again this year because they're going on a big one this year, so I don't want to miss out on that. Yep, for coming along. And it could be that could be a blinking. What if it's a cruise and you're all sitting around the same table every night for the fortnight? No. I think he needs to break those ties.
Break the ties, or go for it, or make sure that you can get at least something away with them so they get some time together.
Camping. It doesn't need to be that dangerous. Go with the family, but then it just makes sure that you've got some time with the other one, with the partner. It doesn't need to be extravagant.
The conundrum has been solved, methinks.
Has it?
Well,
I don't know. Has it?
Well,
where do you stand, Connie?
I stand there. I just think that if you're in that situation where you want to go and you're with someone, you've been with them for 2 years, I think that you need to be making some sort of time for that person to allow your relationship to grow and flourish. But I would say that surely the parents would say, just ask her to come along with us. So I would say very simply, it's very simply solved.
Yes, indeed. I wonder if it's a single